All right, so I'm Jos, and I want to talk about real CI/CD, communication, iteration, coffee, and donuts, or basically what I tell junior engineers, but in a 5-minute version. So this is how we're often sold on CI/CD. It's a magical conveyor belt. You have your pipeline, you commit your code, everything's magic, except not really, right? We've got problems like this. You want to do a deploy, but you can't because you're waiting for someone, or someone sneaks in a last-minute PR. Or maybe you do deploy and it breaks production. And I'd argue none of these are technical problems. It's a problem coming from inside of the organization. Tools are not going to fix broken communication, right? It's about silence. Tools can automate flow, but it's culture that determines if flow actually works. Communication has to be continuous too, otherwise in the end you'll stall your pipeline. And you see this with the best performing teams. They're highly visible, they have high communication. And you see this from the DORA Institute reports, for instance. Those teams with high collaboration, they recover faster, but also they fail less often. And they do this by baking in conversation. Chat ops, highly visible reviews. They catch problems early. They do all the things that you learn about in Agile or in DevOps, but it matters for a reason. Because if you don't, you get drift. And drift isn't about laziness. It's about Slack going quiet during deploys. It's about people saying stuff like this. Oh no, that fails in staging, but it's fine in prod. That doesn't happen. But yeah, if you say this, you normalize bad behavior. If you see this happening, you should inspect your pipeline. If you run into problems like this, I'd argue that's a bad pattern if you hear this in a conversation. So how do we spot drift? Drift is people saying bad code instead of, why didn't the pipeline catch this? It's when language shifts. It's basically when things or people get blamed. And we don't fix this by blame, but we fix this by feedback. Like Mr. Miyagi teaches in the Karate Kid, you need continuous feedback. Feedback, repetition matters. Feedback repeated often turns practice into confidence, and it turns confidence into resilience. Observability, that's kind of part of that. You do a successful deploy, and there's silence. Does that mean it's stable, or does that mean it's invisible? You need more than just a thumbs up. You need active feedback. Another bad anti-pattern I want to mention quickly is this guy. Maybe nobody owns the pipeline. This guy shows up in the end at some point, and he always will. Because management thinks someone needs to sign off. And you got ceremony, and you don't have accountability. So watch out for him. And don't get me wrong on blamelessness. Doesn't mean it's soft. We still do postmortems. We still do all the things to inspect the pipeline, to inspect production, to make sure there's resilience. We all know tech debt slows you down. Culture debt does the exact same thing. Every time you allow for drift, for ceremony or silence, you're building culture debt. Because in the end, what matters is whether your team can recover, learn, adapt. And culture shows up in those metrics. It shows up in recovery time, lead time, and visibility. There's a reason for the 4 DORA metrics. That's how you measure flow in the end. So yeah, this is where we started out, with the perfect conveyor belt. Except, frosting gets spilled, the belt breaks, we send in engineers, they talk about the problem, they fix the problem. And that whole thing is what ships in the end, not just code. Because like Homer Simpson knows, donuts are not just fuel, they're feedback. Thank you.